Subscribe Squad, it's another day, it's another dollar, and it's time for another freaking interview. Today's special guest goes by the name of Dontae. He may look a little familiar. I mean, you might know his siblings, you might know him. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, but today we're focused on him and his music. Dontae, say what's up to the people.
What's good, y'all? What's going on? Thank you for having me.
I like the fact that we both low-key kind of had like similar house vibes. You got the LED lights on. I got the
yeah.
I think it's just the music in us, like that just makes us want to do that. Like,
oh, you said we gotta have a vibe. Okay, good. We can run that.
We can run that. We can have a vibe. All right. What I usually ask people first is like, when did you fall in love with music?
Shoot. I think I've always loved music. Like I've always had a relationship with it. Whether like my mom would only play like gospel or jazz. Jazz was like the only worldly music that my mom would listen to, or I'd be able to listen to with my mom. So growing up listening to a bunch of gospel, Fred Hammond, Smokey Norfolk, and then listening to like 94.7 The Wave, which at the time when I was a kid was like the real jazz station. Like they used to play jazz.
Bro, you hit me with this. See, that's how I know you was a Cali kid. You know what I'm saying? I know two things about you. Off top, you said, I know you grew up in a church because you said worldly music. And that's something only people who grew up in a church, as I said, music or worldly music. And then 94.7 Wave. I literally went to sleep every single night listening to that. 94.7
Oh, yeah.
Wave. Like, I'm already there with you, bro.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Classic. It's classic.
That's super wild. Okay, so you grew up listening to that. My question is, at what point were you like, all right, I wanna go from, just being a fan of music to now I wanna make music?
I'd say in college. Like, so in college, that's when I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I should like try and record myself. But like, I was always freestyling. Like on some, I don't profess to be like a great freestyler or anything like that. It's more like lunch table stuff, like middle school. You know what I'm saying? And then I also got introduced to like Jimi Hendrix and like Bob Marley in middle school. So it was like this mix of like Black Star, like Talib Kweli, Mos Def, and then like Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, and I was just like always going back and forth between these two worlds of like contrasting genres in a sense, but still Black artists like killing it. So that was like a big deal for me. So when I got to college, I was playing college football. I always wanted to play guitar. I had like an attraction to it, but I never really like picked it up. And then I ended up buying a ukulele my freshman year of college on like a crazy whim because I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this little ukulele. I'm gonna get nice at this. Then I'm gonna get a like real guitar. And I didn't get nice at ukulele, but I was like, I need this guitar, and I just started playing guitar, and I DJ'd. I was DJing, producing, rapping, playing guitar in college, and then I'm here now, just still working on my craft.
And so this is what I find that we have in common is just kind of like that sports element of things. Like, I grew up you grew up in a different family. We'll tap into that later. We're not there yet. But like I grew up in a sports family where everybody plays sports. My dad played in the NFL. My mom qualified for the Olympics for track. So it was just in me to play sports, right? And so I played soccer for most of my life. And I turned down college scholarships so that I could, pursue music. And I ended up getting an academic scholarship because I think we kind of had the similar, you got to go to college type households. Like, and so thus UNLV, you know what I'm saying? I technically still take online classes because the way touring is set up in my life, I haven't finished yet, but I will be finishing soon. And so this whatever this route was that whether it was society or our family wanted us to take, to go off and to do music and to veer off and make that decision, I find that to be very relatable. And also I feel like in some sense sports kind of prepares you for the music world in the sense of the worth ethic that you have to have, if that makes any sense. So
100%.
you fell in love with music at a young age. You said you started when you was playing football, but you was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick up this guitar. So at what point were you like, okay, I know that I can make this a career? Did that come post college? Did that just happen recently? Like, what was that for you?
So I got a full-ride football scholarship to UC Davis. My redshirt freshman year, so like my second year of college, I started a game against South Dakota. Like we were playing in South Dakota, and I blew out my shoulder. Like I had to get AC reconstructive surgery. Like I had a 3rd-degree AC separation. So like you know how your clavicle is like parallel to the floor. Like when I took my shoulder pads off, my joint was like floating. So and then I played the rest of the season like that because like that's another story. Like they were wilding, trying to be like, "Oh, you're good." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the like airbags that you put in like shipping boxes so you can like protect whatever you're shipping. Like they would tape that onto my shoulder, and then I would put shoulder pads on top of it and like play a game. So after that season, I finally got an MRI, and the results came back, and my shoulder was like really jacked up. Like I couldn't do like a push up. And I was in a sling for like 3 to 4 months. So like my arm was like this, like all the time. Even when I took my sling off, it was just stuck there. You know what I'm saying? Because they had to like put my shoulder back in place. Like I got a huge scar here. And that's when I was like, yeah, I don't want to go to the league. Like, this is not the situation. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I started playing football when I was 6 years old. So 6 to 22, like I was playing football my whole life. And then that happened, and I was like, this is not fun anymore. Played some more seasons after that. And then I had a career-ending injury where I broke this little bone in my toe. Do you know what your sesamoid is?
No.
So like, you know how your big toe is like your thumb? There's these 2 little bones in your thumb as well as your big toe that they pull on these tendons, and this is what creates that bending motion. So like on the ball of your foot, there's those 2 little bones, and I split one of them in half. So that was like the last game of my junior year. I caught a kick. I was running down the field, and on impact, I like stomped into the ground, and the cleat was like right under that bone, and I like really stomped into the floor pretty hard, and it split it in half. So in the postseason, they're like, yeah, we can either remove it or you can let it heal naturally, and you might not be able to play your senior year. And I was like, yeah, y'all aren't taking this out of my body. Like that's not an option. And then from there, I had to finish my schooling. I still was getting paid for scholarship. And I was dating a girl at the time, and she was like, maybe you should focus a little bit more on music. I was like, I think you're right. And that's kind of where that shift went from, like that transition from like being an athlete to being like, oh no, I do this music thing and I want to do it. Or at the time I want to do it at a high level, but now I feel as though I'm doing it at a high level.
Okay, I'm rocking with that. Somehow, us females, we do the good thing, every now and then. So we'll talk about your new project in a second, but let's talk about growing up in the household that you grew up in, which you saw. If you guys don't know, he is the siblings of Tia, Tamera, and Tavior Mowry, which is sister,
Yeah.
guys. A whole legacy of Mowry's going on right now. And so what was that like for you to be around art? Did you ever want to act? I've never asked you that. Like, did you ever want to act?
I not at the time. I knew I always wanted to direct, which I've directed a couple of things like in my young adulthood. But like I remember my mom being like, hey, you have an audition. And I'm like, I'm just trying to ride my bike outside. Like, I just want to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be a kid. And like, I was talented at acting. Like, I can act. It was just something that I wasn't really attracted to at the time. And I'm grateful that I was able to have a semi-normal childhood. Um, but it was just a blessing. Like I felt like I had a very unique experience of seeing uh, a lot of different sides of life, whether it be like the behind the scenes of Hollywood and like the pros and cons of that, or still being able to be like just a kid and like have no ties to me at all, just being like you're just a kid, you know what I mean? So that was dope.
That's super cool. And so, now that you're older and you've experienced what it is that they've experienced, do you feel like it's even cooler that you get to see them in the capacity that they're at now in their lives, whether it's being like wives and mothers and now you're an uncle.
Mhm.
Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, I think for me, like those are my sisters and that's my brother. And like that's where it begins and that's where it ends. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And with that outlook, I don't get starstruck by anybody
Hmm.
because I'm like so close to my sisters and I'm like, you're a regular person. And like that person that people make like freaking armies over is a regular person. Like it's literally regular person. Like they have terrible days. Their breath is probably hot when they wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta be honest here. We're all human beings. So I never really got caught up in the like thinking that somebody was more than who they are. But like they're valuable just because they're they're valuable just inherently because they're human. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Not because of what they do.
I think that's cool. And I totally feel that. It's just like, I tell people all the time the equivalent is just like, okay, everybody says your mom is cool, your dad is cool, and to them, they're just your mom.
Mm-hmm.
They're just your dad. That is the equivalent
Straight up.
of celebrity, sibling, whatever it is. It's like, okay, I'm with this person every day. They get on my nerves.
Yeah.
So I find that to be funny. All right, you recently dropped a new project. It was called Honey, if I'm correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
tell us about it. What was the process like? And what are some of your favorite songs off of it too?
So Honey Part One was like it was my debut project. That's like the first thing I've ever really released. And it it's a story about uh just questioning things of like any young 20-year-old, mid 20-year-old would be asking. Questions of like value, like what's really valuable, um, like inner tensions of maybe indulging in something that you shouldn't be indulging in and feeling like reluctant about it, but at the same time you can't really break free from it. Um, and then questioning things like faith and like where am I in this whole thing as I've grown as like a human being. Um, so I produced that whole album with Chris, who's like my production partner, and then I've also had homies like Mead Avenue play instruments on it. Like I'm playing guitar, bass, programming drums on that. Wrote all of it myself. There's no ghostwriters or anything like that.
Talk that talk that talk.
Oh, got to. Um, so yeah, that was like my first go around, and I had a really dope experience just releasing it. And I've learned so much since I've released it because it's been I think it's been a year since
Yeah.
I released it. And where I'm at right now is so far from where I was in like a good way because the only way that I'm able to be here is because of the things that I've learned. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah.
So where are you now in life? Where do you feel like, what lessons have you learned in the past year from doing this project? And then also talk about like what's next for you.
Okay. So like I feel I feel like my art is a reflection of where I'm at. And where I'm at is heavily um revolving around like where I am spiritually. Cause I feel like the spirit is like more real than the physical. And something that I've been walking through is like learning to love myself better. Um I would be so quick to tear myself down and like completely like obliterate myself, but I would never speak this harshly to another person. And it's like, why am I so quick to like tee off on myself, but I won't do that to someone else? Like, I'm not loving myself well. Like, why do I drag myself in the mud? Like, why? Like, what is that? So like I moved out to Nashville in January, and that was like a stretching experience. I've been out here for like 6 months, and in that, I just learned so much about myself. I forgive, I've forgiven, excuse me, like a lot of people, because like I was in bondage by not being able to forgive those folks. And it's like, I know I'm talking about something that has nothing to do with music, but what I found is that like this light starts to shine through my music. And Honey Part One, I was writing in a very like, I got something to prove. And it's like, you don't have anything to prove to anybody, but in a way, I was trying to prove something to myself, and it had like a certain kind of feel to it. Hurt, and that's just coming from my angle. Like somebody could probably hear it and be like, "What are you talking about?" And that's cool, you know what I'm saying? That's great. But I think I'm creating from a very free and organic place. That's just like, nah, like it is. So like it'll be. You feel?
I'm on the same page. Like I totally get your vibe. And you know, making a big like jump like that to Nashville, being used in California, right? At the time.
Yeah, I was in LA.
That's gotta be a little bit of culture shock, like low key. Like is it a different type of vibe in Nashville? Like describe how that
It is.
was for you.
Well, like, so 3 huge events have happened since I've been here. There was a tornado that rolled through the city that really, I ain't never seen a tornado. I've never heard a tornado alarm go off, like the warning or whatever, like the siren. That joint sounds terrifying. And that tornado ripped through a lot of neighborhoods and left a lot of people in tight spots. So that happened, and I'm under the impression I'll take an earthquake any day of the week over a tornado. Straight up. Like them joints come down from the sky, you know what I'm saying? And like I know the earth is shaking, but like you can't just have a mean cloud just pull up on a city and then just like go on its way. That makes me feel some kind of way. And then the pandemic happened, coronavirus.
That
That
part.
joint's going crazy. Like things shut down over here, and then we have this 400 years of social unrest with the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's like things are popping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in
But
6 months, and you moved. Like just throw it all
yes, yeah. But outside of those things, Nashville is a great city. There's a lot of live music here, which is dope. When I perform, I'm playing guitar. Like I play with a band while I'm performing. So I felt like it's a little bit more. There's a warmer reception for live music out here as opposed to Los Angeles, and also Nashville is within a day's drive of 75% of the United States population. So like I want to tour. Like that's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be on the road. I want to play shows for people, and like this is a good central hub for that. And then there's also hip hop here. Like I was blessed to just like pull up on these dope MCs, producers out here, and it's very community based. You know what I'm saying? It's like a big little city, but they're doing really dope stuff out here. Super dope stuff.
You have to plug me in on some people then. All right,
all right. Sure, 100%.
Do we expect another project from you this year? Or just single?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Nah, I got an EP that I'm working on. It's called B-Roll. That I want to release in the fall.
Okay.
So pretty soon. But yeah. I know that there's like a whiteboard behind me. So like I'm a very visual person. Like I gotta write stuff down. You know what I'm saying? So that B-roll is just like the tip of the things that I'm working on right now.
Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that you got going on. I'm glad we got a chance to hang out and talk and catch up with everything you got going on. Before we go, shout out your socials.
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram, Tavior Mowry. My Twitter is Tavior Dontae. That's all I have. I like there's a thing about having like a wide net, but I feel like if there's one place you can get somebody at, you'll probably frequent that place most often. So catch me on Instagram, Honey Par One. Zal, I have another EP with this artist called Scotty LVX called the Disa Pack, and just type in DONTAE on all streaming platforms, and you'll find me.
Dope, dope. Well, there you had it there. You know what I'm saying? We had the boy Dontae here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We had a good time. Make sure you follow him on all his socials. Make sure you hit the like button, sub button, bell button here. Let me know who else I should
Yes.
channel. I love you guys. We'll see you next time.